Well, hello, everyone, and welcome back to the True North Podcast. I'm your host, Micah Price Ballard, and I thank you so much for joining me today on the podcast. If you're new here, I started this podcast several years ago. I say this every episode, but I think it was 4 years ago. The ministry's been around for 5, so let's go with 4. But I started the True North Podcast as a way to kind of carry on the mission of what I'd already started with True North. That started as just a social media blog, then became a podcast, and has now blossomed into a beautiful, thriving community. And I am so thankful for each and every one of you, whether you were around for the very first blog post during the pandemic, or you're just now turning in, whatever, to this episode. I am so thankful that you are here, and I am praying that this blesses you and that you get something from this, because that's kind of the whole point of True North, is to give you advice, give you that relatability and the truth that comes from someone who's also trying to navigate this crazy thing called life through the lens of Jesus. And that's not always easy, but hopefully this podcast can give you some relatable things to take back with you after the episode is over, to apply to your life, or even just to give you that hug maybe that you've needed and say, I get it, me too, I feel the exact same way. And so that's kind of what this is all about. So like I said, thank you so much for joining me, and I am super excited about today's topic because I have a very special guest. I know, I didn't advertise it. Isn't that crazy? Are you ready to hear who it is? I'd like to introduce you to my friend, ChatGPT. Yes, I know, get excited. My guest, as I should say, today is ChatGPT, because what I'm going to be talking to you about is, this was kind of a random, 11:30 at night thought, and I saw it on social media, and it was kind of like this challenge that was going around, and it was to go on ChatGPT, which, if you don't know what that is, it's like a form of artificial intelligence that you can basically type in, give me the most famous singers in the world, and it will spit them right out. Or you can ask it a really tough math problem and it'll give it to you. It's crazy. It's awesome. And so now people are going into the more emotional side of ChatGPT, and they are giving it these prompts, like this challenge that I saw. And it said to type in, here's the prompt. Okay, after this episode, this is your homework. I want you to take this and go do this prompt, because it's like way too revealing about yourself. Okay. And it was to say, hey, ChatGPT, can you tell me, based on our chat history, what my blind spots are and what some of my hidden patterns might be? I know, way too deep for 11:30 at night. I don't know what I was doing. I must not have been able to sleep. But I did this, and I sent it to my family, and I was like, everybody do this. This will be fun. And wow, they were spot on. I was actually like, I couldn't tell if I was like uncomfortable with how well it read me, or if I was almost comforted that, like, I don't know, somebody knew me that way. It was crazy. So anyway, I'm going to actually read to you today the things that ChatGPT revealed to me about what my blind spots are and what my hidden patterns are. And I hope that someone out there can be like, oh my gosh, I do that too. And maybe kind of feel a little better about it, honestly. But I even looked at it, when I looked at it from the lens of Jesus and the gospel, there was a lot of comfort in it for me about what the Lord says about these things, and strategies and ways to almost like comfort you and to reflect on moving forward. It was just really cool. And so I'm going to talk about 4 of them today. I just put 2 4s up if you're watching the video, not 8, just 4. I'm going to talk to you about 4 of my blind spots that ChatGPT revealed to me. Are you ready? I'm not, so let's do it. So the first one, I'm going to read it to you, is you wear a lot of hats and you wear them well, but. Don't we love the but? Isn't that comforting? Great. Compliment me and then just tear it down. It's cool. It says you're involved in a ton. You're podcasting, content creation, you were planning a wedding, your ministry, marketing, even school. You're clearly passionate, creative, and purpose-driven, but it's possible you're used to overfunctioning without realizing it. Your possible blind spot could be that you might feel like rest or slowing down is only justifiable when it's productive. Even your downtime might have purpose attached. So what to reflect on? Is there space in your life for being, not just doing? Are you making room for stillness that isn't content driven? I mean, isn't that crazy? First of all, those of you that know me are probably like, LOL, yeah, totally you. But like, I'm so impressed with the depth of it. First of all, like, wow. But let's kind of talk about that. So if we were in person, I would tell you, raise your hand if you wear a lot of hats, right? And I, even as a kid, can remember we were just a busy family. Like, we were always wearing a lot of hats. I played sports. I did theater. I was in school. I was doing this. I was doing that. And then as an adult, I was doing a lot of the same things. But then it became, I was working. I was a student. I was an athlete. I ended up starting True North, and I was a podcaster. Excuse me, it just keeps going, you know? And I think that's great. The Lord gives us a lot of gifts, and I'm very fortunate and blessed that I feel like the Lord gave me the ability to do a lot of my gifts at the same time. I'm thankful for that I didn't have to always pick and choose about the things I got to do. But the caveat to that is exactly what it said, is that you're really bad at resting. And does anyone else feel kind of like a guilt about taking rest? Like when you're so used to doing all of the things all of the time, do you ever feel like resting is almost like a sin? Like I'm really bad about, even with this podcast, like just taking a day or an evening that I'm free to just read a book or watch a show. I'm like, I could be recording episodes. I really should be getting ahead. I could be recording episodes. And it's like, yeah, sure you could, but you could also be vegging out in front of the TV for a little bit because you haven't stopped all week. And I think that, the enemy can actually use that, in my opinion, to keep us stuck almost, to discourage us, because that doesn't do what I thought it was. Like, I thought that was motivating me. Like, well, you could be doing this, get up. No, that was guilting me about resting. When, if I got on this podcast and I hadn't rested, you'd know the content wasn't going to be very good, right? I'm not going to be myself. I'm not going to be on the mark with the advice and probably mixing up my scriptures and, doing those things. Just, I'm not going to be my best. And so when it says even your downtime might have purpose attached, I am really bad about organizing my rest. I was actually talking about this with my friends the other day. I'm like, I have a schedule for my rest. Like I read from this time, I watch TV from this time, then I walk from this, like it's ridiculous. And sometimes I think if you're people like me who love control, like not in like a bad way, but like you just like to be in control of what you can be in control of, a schedule gives me control, and it kind of doesn't leave the room for any like stress or anxiety, I think is kind of how I justify that. But in reality, I think that it ends up turning into a cycle of guilting myself for resting. And when you go to scripture, rest is a huge, huge thing. I mean, the Sabbath day was created for rest. It was to force people to rest, almost to build it into your schedule for people like me who don't do that. And even Jesus needed to rest. Jesus withdrew to pray and to just be, and then be with his friends. He took time to just have dinner with the disciples. And I don't know, when I look at that, I'm kind of like, wow, I am very used to overfunctioning, and I think I have romanticized it to look like success. And I don't think that it always does, especially if you're burnt out, empty, angry, tired. That's not winning, right? But I do think that society glorifies that lifestyle. And again, you might be someone too that maybe if you don't do it, it doesn't get done, right? That's a whole other thing too. I think that is where a lot of our overfunctioning purposes come from, is that we almost have that stress and anxiety of the burden that if I don't do everything, nothing will get done. And I understand that that might actually be true sometimes, but sometimes maybe things just don't get done. Not everything is life or death, end of the world, right? And I think that we have gotten in a place now where we romanticize and encourage people to overfunction. And I see this a lot in church and ministry, especially. You've got people that serve on 6 different teams to where they can't remember the last time they attended a service. And that is definitely not the point of service. It's not the point of purpose. It's not the point of gifts. I mean, the Lord gives us these gifts, but not to destroy us, to give us purpose, but you have to balance that with the rest. And so let's use the reflection question from ChatGPT here and ask yourself, is there space in your life for being and not just doing? Like, you're not always just resting so you can go be prepared for whatever it is you're jumping into in 30 minutes. What if you were resting to be healthy, to get to know the Lord more, to get to know your family more, your friends? What if you were just relaxing, taking care of your mind, of your body? There's nothing wrong with that. But I think if we don't have a task-oriented schedule for our rest, that we don't feel like it was worth it, that we're wasting our time. But rest is not wasted time. It's needed. It is actually working for you, not against you. And I think that if we could break that mindset, we could wear these hats a lot better. And honestly, maybe figure out a way to where we don't have to wear them all stacked on top of each other. If you can rest and take a moment to breathe. I'm also someone who, if I get really worked up and worried about something, if I don't take that step back, I will absolutely let it consume me, and it might be the end of the world. Like I'm done before I even start. But rest forces me to take that step back and say, okay, let me look at all of my hats and see which ones I need to put on, which ones I can take off for a minute, which ones need my attention. And it just breeds this healthier relationship with the things that we're called to do. So right out of the gate, ChatGPT was on fire, right? So let's go to the next one. So the next one is, hold on one second. I lost it on my computer. Hold please. There we go. Okay. The second one is, you're deeply others focused, which is beautiful. Your work, whether it's through True North, your podcast, or your job, I'll say, it shows a strong desire to uplift others. You lean toward encouraging, equipping, and shepherding people in their faith and growth journeys. Oh, thank you, ChatGPT. But your possible blind spot is you may pour out so much that you unintentionally avoid turning that same depth of care inward. Are you as kind and attentive to your inner world as you are to your audience? Ugh. That one like stepped on my toes a little bit, because yes, it was true, but it was also like, man, I hear this advice from years ago. I have had friends and family tell me this. So clearly this might even be a pattern I think I was actually aware of, is you cannot pour from an empty cup. And it kind of goes back to the other one too. And this is so true, because all of these things that we do are great and it's wonderful, but they're not worth anything if they're empty. And a lot of times they're to the point that the Lord's no longer in them because we haven't given him the space. We haven't taken the time to let him fill us. And I'm so much better when the Lord is what is flowing out of me, as opposed to, status motivation or just the pride of finishing something. Like, that's what ends up being projected from all of the things that I do if I don't stop and let the Lord remind me of my why. If I don't let him remind me, this is who you are, this is why you're doing this, and when it's hard, that's what you cling to. But if you're empty, that's when people quit. That's when people burn out. That's when people give up. And that's also, if your goal is to nurture other people in relationships, what are you nurturing them with? You're empty. But again, we have glamorized what it looks like to be burnt out. And I think that this one is really easy to get caught up in and not even realize it. And so when it says, are you being kind to yourself? Like, I think about, I've always been the therapist friend, which I think, is one of my gifts. I think I love to listen. I love to help. And I feel like I have a good, I don't know what the word would be, outlook maybe on certain situations. But I am always one to give people grace and to, let them see the better version of themselves. But I do not do that with myself. And this is getting like vulnerable. But truly, I'm way harder on myself than I am anyone else. Like, I do not extend the same grace to myself. I don't give myself the same amount of time to heal or to work through something, to feel something. I'm like, hurry up, Micah, this is pathetic. You need to get over it. Like, that's not right. That's not fair. I'm a human too. And my friends are giving me that grace, or my husband is giving it to me, or my family. Why can't I give it to myself? Jesus is giving it to me, but I don't give it to myself. And I think that's because we almost we get empty before we realize it. And then you're operating from a place of emptiness, as opposed to, okay, I'm starting to get low. I need to fill up. So how do we do this? How do we give ourselves that same kindness and attentiveness? We rest. We take a step back. Just like the other one that it mentioned, we take that pause and we just allow ourselves to do something that we love, or to recover, or to heal, or to spend time with the Lord, especially to remind us, why am I running myself empty, Lord? What am I doing this for? And that's when it gets really hard. Is I find that when I have allowed myself to get to a place where my cup has become empty, I forget why I did all of it in the first place, and I just start to hate everything and everybody. It is super ugly version of me. But it's because we just get to the point where it's like, I don't have anything to draw from. I don't even have that last bit of hope to draw from. But when I just sit and let the Lord fill me, my cup overflows. There's a reason that scripture says it that way. My cup overflows in you. Not in the validation that comes from achieving these things and doing these things. Not in the amount of time it took me to finish this heavy schedule. It comes from you. It overflows from you. Everything else doesn't even fill me up. But the Lord allows me to overflow when I let him fill my cup. And so if that's any encouragement to you, I hope it just reminds you that all of these things you're doing are great. It's okay, but you are also a great thing, and you deserve the kindness and attentiveness and rest and grace that you give other people. Let's go to the next one before I get vulnerable again. What was I thinking? This is way too vulnerable, all of this. I'm just like totally like outing all of my flaws right now to you all. Here's relatability. Here you go. So this third one, this one was actually interesting. And again, I'm noticing a definite pattern in, over-functioning, over-planning. So now we're going to talk about over-structuring. So this one says you're extremely strategic, but sometimes that can lead to over-structuring. That's a hard word to say. Your approach to branding, marketing, all of your content shows clear intentionality. You like clarity, alignment, and well-defined categories. Love me some categories. Yes. I even tell people I like to categorize my emotions. Like, this feeling goes here, this feeling goes here. They are color-coded. They have their own time slot of when you can feel them. And it says, my possible hidden pattern is you might default to organizing the message even before letting it breathe creatively or spiritually. In content, faith, or planning, this could mean trying to nail the right framework instead of giving yourself permission to sit with uncertainty, tension, or open-endedness. I mean, like, wow, there's so much. There's so many things I could say about this one. And I definitely want to relate this one to faith, right? And again, all of these are faith filtered because that's me. That's what I love. It's who I am. But it's so interesting to me when I think about, so from a practical, like, everyday standpoint, this can be totally true. Like, I definitely want to be intentional and clear about things, but I also, like, if I keep looking at a post, I will just keep editing it and I will keep making changes to it. Like, if I let myself look at it too long, I'm just going to keep trying to fix it, and then I'm going to keep organizing to the point that it's almost like too difficult to understand because it's so over-designed, right? But when I see the word, you're trying to nail the right framework instead of giving yourself the permission to sit in the uncertainty. How much can we relate that to our faith? So many people come into faith in Christianity and a relationship with the Lord, and they are desperate to get the framework right. The schedule, the Bible journaling, the service, all of it. They want a clean schedule, a categorized file of how to do it, when to do it, what to do. And we're so worried about what it looks like to be the right Christian, to be the right type of Christian, that we don't sit in the part where God actually gets to work. And again, I think it goes back to some of the control issue that, I don't like the tension and the what's going to happen, what's the unknown, I don't know. That's not comforting to me. So to me, the over-structuring gives me a place to be instead of letting my mind wander, right? Or worrying about the future. I get to just sit in my over-organized section until I move on to the next one. But life doesn't work like that. Life doesn't work in organized sections as much as we wish that it did. So much can happen in a year that it's impossible to plan for all of it. And so I love that it's mentioning that you need to let things breathe. But if I hold them so tight and constrict them with my planning and my organizing and my structuring, nothing can happen. Nothing can get in or out. And when you apply that to faith, if we hold on to these plans for our life so strongly and tightly, we don't even give the Lord any room to wiggle in and work, right? And the Bible even says that many are the plans in a person's heart, but the Lord establishes his steps. That's going to happen. The Lord is establishing your steps. He already knows what way you're going to go. You can let it breathe. You can let it have some movement. Because I can tell you right now, all these things I overstructure, hardly any of them happen the way I think they're going to. Because, if that ain't life with the Lord, I don't know what is. But his way is better than mine. And I don't leave room for the better because I'm so focused on what's in front of me or what I'm afraid is going to happen. That's really where I think it comes from, is I'm so worried about the other outcomes that I'm going to force it to go one way. So again, the overstructuring, you lose the beauty of it. The beauty of the spontaneity that the Lord can bring, the surprise blessing, or even just the freedom to change your mind and change the plan. Sometimes that's fun. And a lot of times it's necessary. And so the healthier thing to do is to release this white knuckle grip that we have on business, relationships, family, kids, church, life, everything, and just follow the Lord's lead. We are so bad as a people in general about trying to tell the Lord what way to go for our life. And I'm guilty of it. I'm like, Lord, I think it would look best this way, or I think we should move that over here, or I think that should happen now, not in 10 years. And I really feel like he's just up there and he like giggles. And if he could like pat the top of my head, he would. And she'd be like, oh, child, just calm down. Just trust me. But it's true. And I think that when we get so focused on other things, and even if you're focused on others and you're doing it for the sake of helping others, or whether it's to calm yourself or to try to get the best outcome for your family, it's well intended. But the Lord doesn't require us to do that. We don't have to live so structured and tightly wound like that. We can be free. He made sure of that by sending Jesus to die in our place. So even if it doesn't happen according to your color-coded system, that doesn't mean it's not going to work out for your good. Romans says that the Lord works all things together for the good of those who love him. And I'm preaching to myself with that one too. Clearly these are about me, but I truly have to remind myself that it's okay to just be in this uncertain place. In fact, I honestly find that God works the most in some of those places where I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know the plan. I don't know what's coming. But that's the beauty of following him, is that I don't have to. And again, sometimes that's more of a comfort than others. But I hope that can bring you some comfort that it's okay if you're struggling to do that. But I hope this gives you the permission to know that it's okay to let the Lord in. And it's okay to let the Lord lead. And the last one is, you crave authentic impact, but you may be too hard on yourself about it. Oh, this is going to be for all my self-critiquers. Y'all just get ready. You seem to really care that what you put out is meaningful, polished, and true to your mission. Yes, amen. We're on the right track. And that's such a strength. But if something feels like it's not hitting the mark right away, you may question your value or effectiveness more than necessary. Your possible blind spot is measuring your worth or your project's value too quickly or harshly, especially if it doesn't get immediate validation. Ooh, there's that ew vulnerable again. But let's talk about this for a minute. Let's talk about what it looks like to be hard on yourself and where that can come from. Because a lot of people, everyone says you're your own worst critic, right? And I think if you hear anything in that episode, that's some truth right there. Everyone, you are your own worst critic. And I see this a lot in myself with like measuring whether or not I think I've failed. Like I keep record of my failures way more than anyone else does. And my mistakes. Like I'll think about things from 6 years ago that I'm like still getting secondhand embarrassment. Because I guess now it would be secondhand, then it was firsthand. And my face will literally still heat up in embarrassment. And I'm like, I bet they don't even remember that. And I'm over here losing sleep at 24 over something that happened that long ago. Ridiculous, right? But when you care a lot, it's hard not to do that because you're putting everything into these things. But I also think that one thing that can make this really dangerous is comparison. Is if we see other people doing well, we immediately invalidate what we've done. Even if it's amazing. I automatically hate it if someone else is better. No, I'm just kidding. But there is some truth to that attitude and that mindset that we get so focused on, well, theirs didn't make the same mistake. Theirs didn't flop the way that mine did. Or especially like social media is terrible for this. Like people delete posts because they didn't get that many likes. Like, why are you posting it? Are you posting it for the likes or are you posting it to share your life? Again, it's all about the perspective and the intention behind these things. And I think even with good things like ministry and the things that we do to perform the gifts that the Lord's given us, we can get off the mark in that way. Not even that we're not doing it well, but we forget why we're even doing it. And if you let go of your why, a lot of things become much less worth it. And that's so disappointing because people can start out so strong with so much momentum, but all of a sudden, because someone's is looking like it's doing a little better, you discount it. And that's where the enemy comes in. The enemy doesn't want you to succeed for the Lord. He doesn't want to see your purpose walked out. So if he can convince you to destroy it for yourself, he's taking that as a win. And that's what we do when we overanalyze and critique ourselves. Like we need to look at ourselves the way the Lord does. This can go to body image or just intellectual ability. Looking at yourself, gosh, I'm so stupid. I'm so ugly. That's terrible. Don't talk about yourself like that. Don't talk about the Lord's creation like that, okay? Because that's not how he sees you. And you need to see yourself the same way that the Lord does. But like ChatGPT said, measuring your worth too quickly and too harshly, that's where the mistake is. You're writing yourself off before you've even had a time to let something, again, breathe or flourish or grow. Because we are perfectionists, whether we want to admit it or not. And we expect ourselves to be perfect. And so when we're not, we discount ourselves. How many of you right now can think about something that you feel like the Lord called you to do, but you immediately compared yourself to someone else who's done the same thing and then decided that you shouldn't do it, that you weren't qualified, you weren't good enough, people weren't going to like it from you, people weren't going to buy into it the way they did for her or him? Be honest with yourself about that right now. And I hope I can challenge you right now in this episode. Reconsider that. Take that back to the Lord and say, show me what this would look like through your eyes, not mine. Not my parents, not my bosses, not my pastors, but through your eyes. What would it look like for me to walk this out and take this calling and run with it? And you know, when you're walking in what the Lord has called you to do, those types of metrics begin to disappear. It doesn't matter how many likes it got. It doesn't matter how many people listen to this episode. If one person listens to it, it was worth putting out. Because the Lord says in Isaiah that where he sends his word, it will not return void. It will never come back empty or worthless. Wherever he sends his word, fruit will come. There will be growth there. There will be something to show for that. And that includes you. Where he sends you, there will be fruit there. Whatever he calls you to do, there will be fruit there. Does that mean it will be easy? No. And does that mean that there won't be some that flop? And maybe if this is social media, maybe there is going to be a post that doesn't do that well. But you have to decide what it's really about. And again, we want that authentic impact, but we get so caught up in the superficial metrics of it that we lose that impact. And a lot of that impact can be happening to us, not just other people. I can't tell you how much True North in general has impacted my life, and I hope it's impacted other people, but even the impact it's had on me has shaped the way I have grown in my adult life and in my relationships and my relationship with Jesus. That's worth it. So you just never know how the Lord can use something. But if you just completely cancel it and write it off because so-and-so didn't like it or because it wasn't up to your standards, that's a shame. That's a shame. It's time to redefine what it looks like to succeed, what it looks like to accomplish something. And sometimes that means learning from mistakes. That doesn't mean that you failed because you mess up. And we'll have an episode on this coming up soon because this has been a big topic on my heart lately. But who said that you failed? Who said it wasn't good? And even if someone actually spoke those words, ask yourself though, are they aligned with my mission? Are they aligned with my why? Probably not. But we are so hard on ourselves. And a lot of us get in that spot of, why did you pick me, Lord? What was the point of picking me? I can't do this. I can't do this as well as so-and-so. God didn't call you because you're better than someone else. He called you because you're different. Because in truth, there's a ton of Christian podcasters. There's a ton of authors. There's a ton of social media creators. I am not original in that way. This was not my genius idea, okay? These podcasts existed. But I don't believe the Lord called me to do this because I was better than other people at it. I think he called me because I was unique to it, just like everybody else is in their own way. I had something different to say than other people. I might have a different way of doing something. Even if it's the same genre of what it is, my calling is not somebody else's, and it's not supposed to look that way. So maybe theirs takes off quicker, or maybe it looks like it's doing better metrics-wise, but you have to get in the mindset of the mission is more important than the metrics. The impact is more important than the analytics. Once you live from that place and you serve and work from that place, you can't lose because you're doing it for the Lord and nobody else. And if you can take anything with you from this episode today, I hope that you take that. And so that is the last analytical, uber personal, vulnerable point from ChatGPT about my blind spots and my patterns. So here's what would make me feel totally better is if you guys would use that prompt that I gave you and let me know what ChatGPT tells you. Please share it with me, especially since I've just shared mine with the internet. That would make me feel way better. And to remind you that the prompt is to say, hey, ChatGPT, Please tell me, based on our chat history, what my blind spots are and some of my hidden patterns. It's exposing, but I think that's a good thing. And I will say, even though it was something silly like ChatGPT, this was eye-opening for me and did actually cause me to have a heart check and be like, is that something that I do? Or really those reflection questions. Is there a space that I can change my schedule? Is there an area that I need to love myself more? Answer was yes to everything. So you just never know what God will use to speak to you. But I thank you for tuning in today and listening to all of these things that I have shared with you. And again, I hope that if nothing else, this at least made you feel a little more validated in your feelings, to show you that someone else feels this way too, and that there is hope and action steps we can take to living a happier, healthier life. But please tune in next week again on Monday for a brand new episode of the True North podcast. You can follow us on Instagram at discover.truenorth or on Facebook at True North, and on TikTok at the True North, .podcast. I think I finally got that username right, because I'm pretty sure a couple episodes ago I totally gave the wrong one. So LOL, that's pretty funny. But please give us a follow and please subscribe to the show so you can be notified when all the new episodes come out. Send this to a friend who might need it. Please leave a review. I would super appreciate it if you would leave a review and let me know how the show has touched you. And yeah, I'll see you guys next week, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.